Hello YouTube, what's up everyone? My name is Camilla Aaron. I am a transgender YouTuber who is also a person of intersex experience. I make different videos, all different types of topics. I try to spread awareness of trans ideology from a different perspective. What I mean by that is a more conservative outlook on transsexual slash transgender topics. I qualify myself as an intersex person, but I am biologically a male. And I want to just acknowledge that in my videos that you cannot change your biology. And that's something that if you watch my videos, you know I'm very set in my ways with that. I do believe that what I would consider this new wave of transgender people, there are a lot of different types of trans, and what I'm going to speak on today is what's known as AGP or autogynephilia. And before I dive into autogynephilia, AGP, there is also the female version, which is AAP, autoandrophilia, which are women that sexually are aroused by the thought of being sexually active as a man, while AGP is a man who is sexually attracted to being a female. And now this is a type of paraphilia, and paraphilia there's lots of types of philias that don't even have the word philia attached to them, like exhibitionism, voyeurism. These are types of paraphilias, and it's not always a kink for everyone. There are transsexual people who have experienced gender dysphoria since they were children, before they even know what sex is, that already have an incongruency in their mind in dealing with gender dysphoria. I do believe that it is important for these children to grow up naturally and make a decision to transition when they are adults. I don't believe that children should transition, because when you're under 25 years of age, you're making most of your thoughts through your amygdala. And the older you get, we start to think with our prefrontal cortex. And the amygdala is more emotional based, so a lot of people, especially under 21 that are trying to transition, most of their thought process is through their amygdala, and that is responsible for short-term and emotional decision making. And whereas when you're thinking with your prefrontal cortex, it's more logically based. And I'm mentioning this just to explain that I'm not the type of transsexual person who supports children transitioning. I'm also not the type of transgender person that actually believes that you can change your sex. You can't. If you're born one sex, you will die that sex, and I preach that. AGP trans is something that has kind of infiltrated real transsexuals community, and has kind of bastardized it and tarnished the reputation of transgender people who have dealt with gender dysphoria their whole life. Gender dysphoria is a medical condition, and before it was known as gender dysphoria, it was known as gender identity disorder. And people that struggle with this identity disorder, most of them know from a very young age, they feel like myself, that feel like we're born in the wrong body. And we don't even know the birds and the bees when you're 6 years old. Most kids don't. So it's not something sexual. It's the way that some people, I do believe, truly are born. And I don't think that they can help gender dysphoria. But there's a difference between a gender dysphoric transsexual and an AGP transgender person. An autogynephilic an AGP trans person is sexually attracted to the thought of themselves being sexually active. So they are sexually attracted to themselves. A lot of them are incels, and this is my personal belief. In today's trans culture, I do believe that a lot of men who are unable to succeed in their lives as a man. They feel for whatever reason that they have failed as a man, and they want to try something new with themselves or get a fresh start. And that's not the right reason to transition. You don't change sexes because you feel that you failed at the sex you were born as. There's also people who cross-dress, and this is not considered AGP. Cross-dressing is a sexual thing for most people. Most people that cross-dress do it for the sexual excitement, and it turns them on. And some cross-dressers will go as far as taking hormones, or even going further as having surgeries in order to increase their sexual dream and make that become a reality. Whereas a gender dysphoric transsexual person that was born that way, they're not transitioning for a sexual reason. There's really no sexual motive. Like for me, I have no sexual attraction on myself. I find that very appalling and disgusting. I did this more or less for two reasons, and if you watch my channel, you'll understand. I was born with persistent Müllerian duct syndrome. I was born with a partial female reproductive system. And I've dealt with gender dysphoria a majority of my life since I was very small. Um, I'm a bisexual person. I have dated men. I date women. There's no real sexual thrill about the way that I look in bed. That doesn't turn me on. In fact, I'm kind of disgusted with myself sometimes, and gender dysphoria is very mean to me, and I'm very hard on myself. It's why I don't wear a lot of revealing clothes. I usually don't, push my breast up, no push-up bras, or if I do, it's a rare thing. I try to just tone it down, just to and try my best to integrate into society as a female. I'm legally a female, and that is something that I explain to people on my channel. So I transitioned for the fact that I grew up an intersex, a hermaphrodite person. I also transitioned for the reason that I have gender identity disorder / gender dysphoria. Most AGP trans people do not have gender dysphoria. They transition for sexual purposes. They may be sexually attracted to themselves, or they may be sexually attracted to being a female in a sexual position with a man. So AGP trans, an example, is someone that transitions. They may not even have dysphoria. They just think their life would be better as the opposite sex. So AGP male, they envision themselves as a female. And they usually start out attracted to women before they go through their transitions. A lot of them are incels, and they're unable to woo women to pursue women successfully. And I do believe that a lot of these incels feel that they've failed as men, and this is another like a lifeline for them to use and to get a fresh start in life. AGP doesn't just mean an incel that transitions to restart, but it's a lot deeper than that because it is a paraphilia. So it is a sexual condition where these people are sexually attracted to the thought of them being sexually active as a woman. And I, for myself, I'm not sexually attracted to myself in any way. I do this more as a means to survive and to prolong and live a better quality life. I don't believe that there's anything sexual in nature to a transsexual who acknowledges their biology, who acknowledges their limitations. I cannot menstruate. I do not have a period. I do have a uterus. I do have fallopian tubes. But even being an intersex person like myself, I will still acknowledge biology. My body I have a genetic mutation that caused me to be this way. But with that being said, I still respect basic biology. And I try to make my videos as relatable as possible. One of the issues that the AGP trans has infiltrated the trans community. It's slowly tarnishing the reputation of real transsexual people. There are people who transition for pure purposes that are guided by medical professionals, and a lot of AGP trans are guided by medical professionals too. There's nothing inherently wrong with AGP people. I don't hate them. I dislike them appropriating a real transsexual's life, because living as a transsexual person and dealing with gender dysphoria from a very young age can be very hard on a person. It's very stressful. There's a lot that goes into a gender transition that non-trans straight people would never understand. And then you have AGP trans who claim they have periods. They all of these things that they can't do, they truly believe occurs. And I see it all the time on social media, on Reddit, being a YouTuber, reading comments, and I'm just like, wow. Some people have asked, am I AGP? And I'm like, that's disgusting. Absolutely not at all. But people don't know, and the issue with AGP is that it has infiltrated the trans community to a point where people don't know what to think about transsexuality anymore. These people are demanding respect and access to women's spaces that are designed for women, not for men. And I do believe there's a fine line between who can use a female's bathroom and who shouldn't. If I was to walk in, and I've done it as a social experiment, I went into a men's bathroom at Walmart, and I got kicked out of the Walmart. There were men in the restroom. The reason I did it actually was the women's bathroom was being cleaned. I take a diuretic and I had to pee, and I was going to have an accident if I didn't go to the restroom. So I went into the men's restroom. There was guys peeing at the urinal. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be in here. I went to my stall. I sat down. I peed. I washed my hands and left. And it was very embarrassing. And I'm sure it was very awkward for those men in there. Someone like myself should not be in a male's bathroom. And legally, I am a female. So legally, I'm not supposed to be in a man's bathroom. With that being said, if it came to something such as a women's dressing room at like a gym, first off, I would never go into those spaces because I do not have a vagina. I have a penis. And that may be very triggering for some women, real women, in women's spaces. There's a time and a place for everything. Bathrooms, females' bathrooms are stalls. You go in, you sit down, you pee, you get out, you wash your hands, and you leave. You're not actually seeing other women naked. But in women's dressing spaces, you do. And these people are infiltrating these spaces and demanding to be accepted. I would never feel comfortable in my body walking into a women's dressing room and seeing naked women. And I could not imagine taking off my underwear in front of them and expect them to think that's just okay. It's not okay, and it's not normal. But these AGP trans, I don't know, I don't really understand it fully, and I'm sorry for the lack of depth in this video. But I think that there's some thrill that they get out of being perceived as a woman, whether it's claiming to have a menstrual cycle or using women's spaces. There's a time and a place for everything, and everything is relevant to an individual circumstance. So it's a very mutually exclusive thing. If a transgender woman who is early in transition trying to use women's bathroom but still looks male, they probably shouldn't be going into a women's bathroom because, it just doesn't look normal. If you're not passing, or at least passing enough to go in there and have the respect of the women in there to let you use it, I've never had anyone ever say anything to me in a women's restroom, except I've had women ask me, do you have a tampon or a pad? And I don't, because I don't have a period. So it's like, no, I don't. I'm sorry. But these people like buy pads and tampons, and I like look at Dylan Mulvaney. I think that's classic AGP. I don't understand it. I would like to know more and learn more about it so that I'm not closed-minded or obtuse. I'd like to know more about it just so that it's better to understand the enemy than to have no knowledge of them. And not that they're the enemy, but they're a cancer to the trans community. I do believe that, and it's very toxic. AGP trans, we need to do something to get these people away from hormones. We need to do all we can to gatekeep HRT, to gatekeep transgender related surgeries. These people should not be transitioning. It's a sexual thing, bottom line. And if you're a real transsexual with gender identity disorder or gender dysphoria that is crippling, you'll find that these people are appropriating our culture. These AGP trans are appropriating real transsexual experience. And the real transsexual experience is honestly kind of a bleak and dark reality. Being born in the wrong body and having to deal with that your whole life is very, very, very painful. Very painful. I don't know how to put into words how difficult that has made my life. And now we have these people who are appropriating us, and not only are they appropriating us, but they're giving a bad reputation to the trans community because the trans umbrella is including everybody, and not everybody should be shielded by the trans umbrella. And this is all like, I would say within the past 10 years, this has become worse and worse of a problem. It's been around for a long time. A famous psychologist in 1989 talked about AGP, and I'm not even able to paraphrase because it's been some time since I read this doctor's studies on AGP, but AGP is real, and it has affected the trans community negatively. If you have any questions or insight, please comment, and I'd love to hear your opinions on AGP trans people. And what do you think we should do as the real trans community for real transsexuals? How should we be responding to these AGP trans trying to act like they're a trans person? It sucks. It sucks bad. But anyhow, if you learned anything, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you would, ring the bell for notifications, and you will be uploaded every time I upload a video. So I appreciate y'all watching, and I look forward to talking to you in the comments. Take care, everyone.